So in this video we are going to start the second lecture on PIH, that is the pregnancy induced hypertension. So how to manage this pregnancy induced hypertension. So mainly we are going to discuss about the management in this lecture. So the management, coming to the management, it is divided into two types. One is a non-specific management and one is a specific management. So in the name itself you can see non-specific means we are not specific about this pregnancy induced hypertension. So here we are going to give antihypertensive drugs. Why we are giving antihypertensive drugs? Because there is hypertension in the patient. Okay, so antihypertensive drugs, and the other drugs which we give here is anticonvulsant drugs. Anticonvulsants are drug given because the most serious form of PIH is the preeclampsia, and preeclampsia it can lead to HELLP syndrome and also eclampsia. In eclampsia there are convulsants, so to prevent that there are anticonvulsant therapy. So these are two non-specific ones. The specific one, especially if you say to this pregnancy induced hypertension, the specific treatment is termination of pregnancy. So termination of pregnancy is a specific treatment for this, but in the case some people may not accept it, in the end then we'll continue with antihypertensive and anticonvulsant drugs. Okay, why we are doing termination of pregnancy? Because here in the name it is saying pregnancy induced. Because of pregnancy only this hypertension is coming, right? So that is mainly because of placental defects. So if you remove the placenta, that is nothing but if you terminate the pregnancy, then this hypertension which is caused in the mother will be terminated. So termination of pregnancy in the short called as stop. So you do this especially in case of mild preeclampsia. So if it is mild preeclampsia, here you will wait till 37 weeks and then you will terminate it. Okay, and in the case of severe preeclampsia, you will not wait till 37, you will just terminate it within 34 weeks. Okay, so mild preeclampsia terminate in 37 weeks, severe preeclampsia terminate in 34 weeks. The next, coming to different other forms like impending eclampsia, and others like normal eclampsia and HELLP syndrome. Okay, and fetal distress, kidney failure, abruptio placenta. In all these conditions you just simply immediate termination is required in these cases. So these are critical cases, because in the case of mild preeclampsia you will wait till 37 weeks and terminate. In the case of severe preeclampsia, just within 34 weeks only you will terminate. But here in impending eclampsia, HELLP syndrome, fetal distress, kidney failure, abruptio placenta, that is a very severe condition, so we need to terminate the pregnancy immediately in this case. Okay, next, coming to the test. Already in previous video we have discussed the test we do for PIH is uterine artery Doppler test, right? So there is also other tests to know the prognosis. So before, to investigate, to know, but now we are doing another test for prognosis, that is here umbilical artery, there uterine artery, here we take umbilical artery Doppler, and in this umbilical artery Doppler we come to know that there is two types of prognosis in PIH. One is the AEDF, that is absent end diastolic volume. So here you will going to terminate the pregnancy within 34 weeks. Okay, and another one is reverse end diastolic flow. So this is absent end diastolic flow. Here the end diastolic flow is absent, so we will terminate it within 34 weeks. Here there is reverse, the end diastolic flow is reversing, so you will terminate it just between 32 weeks. So this is important. So in the prognosis of umbilical artery Doppler you will find this one, that is absent end diastolic volume and reverse end diastolic volume. Okay, sorry, flow, right? So we use here umbilical artery Doppler. Before we have used uterine artery Doppler. Okay, so now coming to mode of delivery. So in this case of PIH patients, of course the mode of delivery will be vaginal, right? Generally vaginal. In the case of eclampsia patients, you use catheterization, catheterize. Okay, you use catheterize in eclampsia patient, and you will cut the short second stage of labor. Cut short second stage of labor by instrumental delivery. Okay, And after delivery, always remember this point we already discussed before. After delivery, methyl ergometrin is contraindicated. This one we already discussed before in the mnemonic topper, where PR refers to this one, that is topper, right? In that topper spelling TOPER I said. So PER, P refers here PIH, that is pregnancy induced hypertension. So here also methyl ergometrin is contraindicated. So now coming to the indications for C-section. So normally I said you do vaginal delivery. In the case of eclampsia, you use catheterization, and you'll cut short the second stage of labor by instrumental delivery. And after delivery, methyl ergometrin is contraindicated. So now coming to indications for C-section or cesarean section. In cesarean section, what we are going to do? That is, if there is poor Bishop score, there is one score called poor Bishop score. If that Bishop score is poor, then you will do C-section. And the most common anesthesia used in patients of PIH is epidural anesthesia. So we use epidural anesthesia, which is most common in all patients. But in the case of this AEDF, that is absent end diastolic flow or reverse end diastolic flow, we preferably use general anesthesia. This is important. So most common anesthesia is epidural anesthesia, but in this cases like AEDF or REDF, we use general anesthesia. Now let us coming to antihypertensive medication. As I said, non-specific antihypertensive medication. So this antihypertensive medication, if the BP is greater than 150/100, okay, you give oral therapy. If the BP is greater than 160/110, you will give the intravenous or IV therapy. Okay, so this therapy which is given in this case 160/110, this is called as a hypertensive crisis, acute hypertensive crisis, because here the BP is very high, like 160/110, right? So what are the drugs which will be given? The first one is labetalol. Labetalol can be given oral or IV. Okay, and the next one is hydralazine, and the next one is nifedipine. Next comes methyl-dopa. Following it, NTG, that is nitroglyceride. Next is sodium nitroprusside. Okay, nitroprusside. So these are the drugs which are recommended for hypertension. Okay, antihypertensive drugs these are. But the contraindicated drugs are ACE inhibitors, losartan, diuretics, diazoxide, beta blockers. These are all contraindicated in antihypertension in pregnancy. Okay, so what is a drug of choice? Especially among all these drugs, if you want to choose single drug for antihypertension, it is best to choose labetalol. Okay, so labetalol, it is given IV in the case of hypertensive crisis. Okay, so in that hypertensive crisis, first we give 20 grams, followed by 40 grams, followed by 80 grams, and again you will follow 80 grams. So in total, how much of labetalol can be given IV is 220 grams. So you can give 220 grams of IV labetalol if in the case of hypertensive crisis. So now coming to one more thing, that labetalol is contraindicated in asthma. In asthmatic patients, don't give labetalol. Okay, so now coming to drug of choice for hypertension in pregnancy. So as we said, labetalol comes the first. Following labetalol, there is methyl-dopa. Okay, after labetalol, methyl-dopa is preferred as chronic hypertensive drug in pregnancy. Now coming to drug of refractory hypertension is a sodium nitroprusside. So sodium nitroprusside is refractory drug for hypertension in pregnancy. Okay, it is a last resort. So it is not usually given because it may lead to cyanide toxicity. So it is not given usually. Okay. So now coming to drugs which are used for acute hypertensive crisis. So acute hypertensive, or for chronic hypertensive, as I said, you use labetalol followed by methyl-dopa. For the acute hypertensive crisis, there is a flow, like this flow, follow same flow. First Most common is labetalol, that is 220 mg. Next followed by hydralazine. Next that to IV because it's a acute condition. Next coming to nifedipine, sustained release of nifedipine. Next coming to NTG. Here you don't use methyl-dopa because methyl-dopa you already use in the chronic hypertension. So in acute hypertension, remember, you don't use methyl-dopa. Next, NTG nitroglyceride drip is used IV. This is also IV. And of course sodium nitroprusside is used at last, especially sodium nitroprusside is used for refractory hypertension. Okay, so now coming to methyl-dopa, some features of methyl-dopa. Methyl-dopa is not used for antihypertensive crisis, especially acute cases, acute cases, because it is having a slow onset of action and it is also a mild antihypertensive. So it is the safest antihypertensive in pregnancy. So what is the safest antihypertensive? Safest antihypertensive in pregnancy is methyl-dopa because it is slow acting and it is slow releasing and it is mild in antihypertensive nature. So diuretics, very important, diuretics are contraindicated in hypertension, but diuretics can be given to treat the cardiac problems in pregnancy, which is very important point. Diuretics not used in hypertension because there is already hemo concentration, so that's why we don't use diuretics in hypertension in pregnancy, but we use diuretics in cardiac functions, cardiac abnormalities in pregnancy. So now coming to management, as we already discussed, mild preeclampsia means you give antihypertensive drugs if BP is less than 150 by 100. But in severe preeclampsia, as the BP is very high, like 160 by 110, you start giving all these drugs, and also you'll start using magnesium sulfate. So why use magnesium sulfate? Because it is an anticonvulsant. Okay, so it decreases the case of convulsions or seizures in a severe preeclampsia patient. Now coming to eclampsia discussion. Okay, so eclampsia, you know, it is divided into antepartum eclampsia and postpartum. So antepartum is the most common and it is also the worst prognosis. Okay, so coming to the postpartum, it will occur within 48 hours within delivery. Okay, after 48 hours of delivery, you will see this postpartum eclampsia. And you know, in eclampsia there is preeclampsia along with grand mal scissors. Very important, grand mal. There is grand mal scissors in eclampsia, right? So stepwise, the first step for the treatment of this eclampsia is secure the airway. So first one is secure the airway. So how you are going to secure the airway? First one is mouth gag. Give the mouth gag, followed by oxygen mask, followed by aspirate the secretions. Just aspirate out all the secretions from the lung. So the first step in treatment of eclampsia, secure the airway, mouth gag, oxygen mask, aspirate secretions. Second step is anticonvulsants, that is especially magnesium sulfate. The third step is antihypertensive IV, give IV labetalol. Okay, and the fourth step is definitive management, that is termination of pregnancy. So actually you start giving to the patient in the case of eclampsia with grand mal scissors. First you secure the airway with mouth gag, oxygen mask, aspirate secretions. Next you do anticonvulsant treatment by magnesium sulfate. After that you give IV labetalol. So after doing all this also still the patient is not constant, then you will give the termination of pregnancy. After doing all this also still if the convolutions are not decreasing and still if the hypertension is not decreasing, then the definitive management will be termination of pregnancy finally. So now let us discuss about the magnesium sulfate. As we said, it is useful in convulsions treating. So what is the main reason? Let us check out. So magnesium sulfate is a drug of choice to prevent and also treat convulsions in pregnancy and also hypertension. So it is not an antiepileptic and not an antihypertensive, but it is centrally acting. So very important, it is centrally acting drug. It is centrally acting, and the mechanism of action of magnesium sulfate is it mainly acts on NMDA receptors. So it acts on NMDA receptors in the brain. By blocking them, it will lead to central vasodilation. So it will block the NMDA receptor leading to central vasodilation. So the central vasodilation is a mechanism of action of magnesium sulfate by blocking the NMDA receptors, and by this there is reduced hypoxia, central hypoxia, and that in turn will treat the convulsions. So that is going to treat the convulsions whenever there is reduced hypoxia in the case of this magnesium sulfate. And one more thing, this magnesium sulfate blocks the calcium channels. So remember, magnesium sulfate blocks calcium channels. So what happens if the calcium channels are blocked? Don't use calcium channel blockers in combination with magnesium sulfate. This is very dangerous. Don't use this combination. Calcium channel blockers with magnesium sulfate should not be used because there is a risk of causing respiratory arrest. The risk is respiratory arrest. So never use both together. So what are the therapeutic uses of this therapeutic uses of calcium channel blockers are eclampsia. In eclampsia you can use this, and prophylactic uses are in severe preeclampsia, impending eclampsia, and also in HELLP syndrome. So in all these conditions you can use the calcium channel blockers. Okay, but always remember, don't use calcium channel blockers with magnesium sulfate because it may lead to respiratory arrest. Now coming to management of HELLP syndrome. As we have said, in HELLP syndrome we use calcium channel blockers. Now let us focus mainly on this HELLP syndrome, how we are going to manage this. So the management of HELLP syndrome is definitive. The definitive management is nothing but termination of pregnancy, or also you can use magnesium sulfate and also different antihypertensives. Okay, and if gestational age is less than 34 weeks, if the gestational age is less than 34 weeks, prophylactic steroids for fetal lung maturity should be given, and the pregnancy should be terminated after 48 hours. So they should be given some prophylactic steroids for fetal lung maturity and should be terminated after 48 hours. So terminate after 48 hours. Next, coming to Pritchard regime. So what is Pritchard regime? We'll start this Pritchard regime in another video.